Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Cody, this is Val, and for the last little while we've been documenting our journey towards debt freedom here on YouTube, specifically with Budget With Us when the paychecks come in. But today what we wanted to talk about, because we've been sort of shifting our focus more towards financial independence as we start bearing down on debt freedom. And today we wanted to share about why buying a house as an investment may not be the be-all, end-all investment strategy you've been told it was.
All right, so there's a long running debate of, renting versus buying, and that buying should be better than renting, and or maybe you've heard the alternative. For us right now at this point in our life, we feel that renting makes more sense for us rather than buying a home.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah, but we did want to touch on some of the reasons why we think buying a home as your only source of investment could be a really bad idea.
Yeah, if you're buying your house as part of an overall holistic investment portfolio, yeah, you do you. If you're buying your house exclusively as the entirety of your investment portfolio, there is likely a bunch of things you need to consider and several things you need to focus on before you go there.
Mm-hmm. So the big thing when you go to buy a house is you want to consider the fact that just because you can afford a certain amount in rent every month does not then mean that you can afford that amount on a mortgage. So there is a small spider hanging off the ring light, and he's currently
Is he in focus? In the camera? Where?
No. See him?
Oh,
he's
yeah,
crawling up there.
Look at him go.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So for us here, we pay $1,500 a month for our rent. We would
If
never...
we were to buy a house, we would not take a $1,500 mortgage.
No, definitely not.
That would be suicide.
We would want to stay under $1,000 a month,
Yeah.
probably, for our mortgage payment.
And the reasoning for that is fees and utilities and bills and all the crap that everyone always forgets to tell you about.
Yeah, so I'm going to break down some of that for you guys. So the first thing is obviously when we rent, we don't have any maintenance costs here. If something breaks, the people who own this building will come in and fix it at their expense.
I phone up my landlord and say, hey, there's water damage on the baseboards, and someone comes in and fix it. I say, hey, the fridge crapped out, and someone comes in and fixed it. I say, hey, somebody drove through the wall, and someone else comes and fixes it, and I don't have to pay for anything. Now,
obviously, there's some exceptions. Like, if I punch a hole in the wall, that's my fault, and they will charge me back for it. But, if one of the appliances were to die, they're going to replace that. If the roof started leaking, they're going to fix that. That doesn't come out of our pocket. When you own your home, your maintenance costs can be quite high, typically 3 to 5% of your home's value every year. 3% on the low end if you've bought something newer, 5% on the higher end. And this includes everything like getting your roof redone, renovations, furnace replacements, hot water tanks, appliances. There's so much stuff.
Everything. I mean, ideally, if you're going to buy a house, you would be taking that amount of money every month and putting it into an account and letting it just build up for when something catastrophic happens. Because, renting an apartment, if my TV breaks, I got to replace the TV. If my couch breaks, I got to replace the couch. And that's pretty much it. Anything else that breaks is on the apartment owner or the homeowner, whoever the case may be, the landlord. If it's your house, you're looking at things like furnace repairs for several $1,000s, roof repairs for $10,000 to $20,000. If your patio craps out on you, need to replace a deck, that can be $7,000 to $10,000. It's not cheap.
Yeah.
And it's going to come up all at once.
So if you buy a house that's $300,000, you're going to be looking at a range of $9,000 to $15,000 a year in maintenance costs, which is around $750 to $1,250 every month.
On top of your mortgage.
On top of your mortgage. You also have to pay your land taxes or property taxes. Obviously, this varies greatly depending on where you live. For us in the city that we're in, the average is about $3,600 a year or about $300 a month.
Yeah, again, on top of your mortgage.
On top of your mortgage, that's right. If you are renting an apartment, chances are you only have to pay for your power. That's all we've ever had to pay for in an apartment that we live in. Obviously, if you buy a home, now you have to pay for your power, your gas, your water, your waste and sewage. So your utilities will wind up going up, and that can be several $100s a month.
Yeah, and just insulation in an apartment versus a house is vastly different. It is much more expensive to heat a house than it is to heat a comparably sized apartment.
Also, if you can hear Freya singing in the background, it's because she's down for a nap and not napping.
Yeah, it's nap time. She was tired. She has to go for a nap. Now she's putting on a concert for her stuffies.
Another thing, another extra cost that you would have would be if you buy a condo, there's typically condo fees. If you buy a new condo, they're usually a little lower. They go off your square footage, and it's typically like between $200 and $350 a month where we are. It might be different where you are, and that's because those condo fees include things like a deferred maintenance fund for the building and costs for landscaping and snow removal, as well as generally the utilities, because any kind of apartment or condo style living, the tenants would pay for their power, and then heat and water would be, part of the building. Okay, and even if you don't buy a condo, some subdivisions you buy in have HOA fees.
Homeowner association.
Yeah, so like we've looked at some townhouses and some homes in our city, and they still range from like $150 to $280 a month. Even though you own your house or your townhouse, they still charge you for things like, curb appeal, garbage removal, landscaping, snow removal, stuff like that.
Yeah, cleaning the streets, doing general maintenance in the shared areas, if there's like a public park or something like for the kids to play at. That's all got to be paid for and maintained by somebody, and that all comes out of the HOA fees.
Yeah, so that's one of the biggest reasons I think why people wind up being house broke is they think, oh, I can afford this much for rent, so I can afford close to that for a mortgage, and they take out the loan and they get their mortgage and they're paying $1,200 a month, and then they're hit with like an extra $2,000 a month in fees. Whether that's utilities, property taxes, house insurance is also much more than like tenant's insurance.
And all of a sudden your $1,200 a month mortgage has become $3,000 a month.
Another reason why we think that buying a house solely as your investment is not a good idea is because a lot of people will say, oh, well, I can buy a house and then I can turn around and sell it a few years later for a profit. And while that might be true, and your profit might be, $20,000 to $40,000.
On paper, yeah, you could buy a $300,000 house, sit on it for a while, do some general maintenance and renovations, upgrade a little, and sell it for $400,000. And by the time everyone is done putting their hand in there for fees and costs and this, that, the other thing, you've made no money or lost money.
Yeah, because a lot of that profit will have gone to the interest you paid on the mortgage, the fees you paid to the realtor to buy the house, the fees you paid to the realtor to sell the house, unless your buyer wound up paying it, home inspection fees, legal fees, land transfer fees, your maintenance costs for the years that you had the house. There's so much that comes out of it that your profit would be probably non-existent or negligible.
Yeah, again, it's especially if like for short-term home ownership, if you're looking to live somewhere for maybe 5 years, spruce it up a little and then turn a profit, you're probably not going to get anywhere as close to as much as you think you will.
Yeah. And then the same thing, you still have, those property taxes and your home insurance and your utilities and everything else on top of it. So I think a lot of people get trapped into thinking like, oh, I have to buy a house, I have to invest my money in a house, and renting money is throwing my money away. And, to a certain extent, yes. You are throwing your money away when you rent.
If we were to live in our current apartment for the next 30 years, to just commit 30 years to one location, yeah, I mean, it might make sense to buy it and then own it outright at the end of that. But that's not really what most people do. We move around quite a bit. We don't like the neighborhood. We'd rather live somewhere else. We want to upgrade to a better house, downgrade to something smaller. And it's just, I don't know, for us, the convenience of not having to worry about anything is fantastic. I mean, I had a friend not long ago that the sewers backed up in like the whole neighborhood. Just the basement was suddenly under a foot of poop. And he had to pay to clean that up. He had to pay for the damages caused by it. And he had to pay to fix the issue on his property that was like, when the backup happened, it broke some stuff within his system, and he had to pay to fix that as well, not to mention skyrocketing insurance premiums. And his insurance didn't cover it because blah, 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 legalese loophole.
Usually your insurance would cover something like that. Depends on who you go through, I guess, and what coverage you have. But Yeah. I don't know. For Cody and I, renting offers us a lot of flexibility, a lot of peace of mind. We can afford quite a nice place for what we pay. And for us, it makes sense to continue doing this. It's not to say that we'll never buy anything. We do plan to eventually buy something.
Yeah, we do want to buy something. I want to be able to work on it, fix things, make things exactly how I want them to my own specifications that I like.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I like that I pay my rent every month and nothing is my problem. I don't have to shovel. I don't have to mow the grass. I don't have to pick weeds. It's all someone else's issue.
Yeah. So to be clear, we're not telling you don't ever buy a house. We're not against buying a home, but I do think there's some considerations that people need to think about before they just jump into buying a house. So that's it for this video.
Yeah. Okay, say bye, Spider. For sure you guys can see him now. He's like right there.
We'll have to take him off of there before we film the next video.
Yeah, before we film the next video. Otherwise, you guys are going to know that we batch record things like once a week. But I think we'll leave it here, guys. So if you found some value in this video, leave a comment, like it, subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications if you want to find out when we do more shenanigans like this. And as always, I don't know, we're not doing a budget with us, so it doesn't matter if it's payday yet or not. So, yeah. I don't know. Thanks for coming along with us. We love you guys very much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye. Bye.